Did you know that at its peak, the Mongol Empire was the largest contiguous land empire in history, stretching from the Sea of Japan to Eastern Europe? It was an empire forged in fire and steel, and its story is one of the most dramatic in human history. So, how did the nomadic people from the steppes of Central Asia build such a colossal empire? And what was the true cost of their conquest? Let's dive in. Our story begins in the late 12th century on the vast, unforgiving grasslands of Mongolia. The Mongol tribes were scattered, constantly warring with each other. Into this chaos, a boy named Temujin was born. Through sheer will, brilliant military tactics, and ruthless determination, he united the warring tribes. In 1206, at a grand assembly known as a Kurultai, he was proclaimed Genghis Khan, the universal ruler. This wasn't just a new title. It was the birth of a nation and an unstoppable military force. Genghis Khan's genius wasn't just in uniting his people. It was in how he organized them. He created a disciplined, merit-based army that broke traditional tribal lines. Loyalty was to him and the empire, not to one's old clan. His warriors were masters of horsemanship and archery, able to shoot with deadly accuracy while galloping at full speed. Their tactics were revolutionary. Feigned retreats, lightning-fast flanking maneuvers, and sophisticated siege warfare learned from engineers they captured. They were a whirlwind on the battlefield. The first major target outside Mongolia was the Western Xia dynasty in modern-day China, which they subdued. But the real game-changer was the invasion of the powerful Khwarezmian Empire in Central Asia. Stretching across modern-day Iran, Afghanistan, and Uzbekistan. After Khwarezmian governor foolishly executed Mongol envoys, Genghis Khan unleashed his full fury. This wasn't just a war. It was an annihilation. Great cities like Samarkand and Bukhara, centers of learning and culture, were razed to the ground. Libraries were burned, scholars were killed, and irrigation systems that had sustained the region for centuries were destroyed, turning fertile land back into desert. The message was clear: resist and you will be erased. The numbers are staggering and difficult to comprehend. Historians estimate that the Mongol invasions and conquests led to the deaths of somewhere between 20 to 60 million people. That's a significant portion of the entire world's population at the time. In some regions, the population didn't recover to pre-Mongol levels for centuries. Entire civilizations were brought to their knees. This period of intense warfare and destruction is often called the Mongol Terror. For those who stood in their way, it was an apocalyptic event. Cities were leveled, and the skulls of the vanquished were sometimes piled into gruesome pyramids as a warning to others. After Genghis Khan's death in 1227, his empire didn't crumble. Instead, it was divided among his sons and grandsons, who continued the expansion. Under his successor, Genghis Khan, the empire pushed further west. The Mongol hordes swept through the plains of Russia, sacking cities like Kiev and Moscow. The principalities of the Rus were shattered and forced into vassalage for over 2 centuries, a period that would profoundly shape the future of Russia. From there, they turned their sights on Europe. A Mongol army, led by the brilliant general Subutai, annihilated a combined Polish and German force at the Battle of Legnica, and then crushed a massive Hungarian army at the Battle of Mohi just 2 days later. The path to Vienna and the heart of Europe lay open. It seemed nothing could stop them. But then, a message arrived from the capital, Karakorum. The great Khan Gadai was dead. Mongol tradition demanded that all princes of the bloodline return to elect a new leader. The invasion of Europe was halted, not by a European army, but by the death of a single man thousands of miles away. Europe had been saved by chance. Meanwhile, in the east, Genghis Khan's grandson, Kublai Khan, was focused on the ultimate prize, China. After decades of brutal warfare, he finally conquered the southern Song dynasty in 1279. For the first time in history, all of China was ruled by a foreign power. Kublai established the Yuan dynasty, moving his capital to what is now Beijing. He adopted many Chinese customs and administrative practices, trying to rule this vast, sophisticated society. However, his attempts to conquer Japan were famously thwarted by disastrous typhoons, which the Japanese called kamikaze, or divine winds. The Mongol Empire connected the East and West like never before. This period, known as the Pax Mongolica or Mongol Peace, was a paradox. The same empire that caused so much destruction also created an era of unprecedented stability and trade across Eurasia. The Silk Road was revitalized and secured. Merchants, missionaries, and explorers like Marco Polo could travel from Europe to China with relative safety. Ideas, technologies, and goods flowed in both directions. Gunpowder, the compass, and printing from China made their way to Europe, where they would eventually fuel the Renaissance and the Age of Discovery. But this interconnectedness had a dark side. The increased traffic along these trade routes is also believed to have helped spread the Black Death from Asia to Europe, the deadliest pandemic in human history. So, how did it all end? The Mongol Empire was simply too vast and culturally diverse to be ruled as a single entity forever. By the late 13th century, it had fractured into 4 successor states: the Yuan dynasty in China, the Chagatai Khanate in Central Asia, the Ilkhanate in Persia, and the Golden Horde in Russia. Over time, these khanates adopted the local religions and cultures. The Mongols in Persia became Muslims, while those in China were increasingly influenced by Chinese culture. Internal conflicts, rebellions, and the sheer difficulty of ruling conquered peoples led to their gradual decline. By the end of the 14th century, the Ming dynasty had overthrown the Yuan in China, and the other khanates had either dissolved or been absorbed by rising powers like Timur's empire and a resurgent Russia. The Mongol invasions were a cataclysmic event that reshaped the world map and demographic landscape of Eurasia. They brought unparalleled destruction, but also inadvertently connected the world, accelerating the exchange of ideas and technology. They toppled old empires and created the conditions for new ones to rise. The world we live in today was, in many ways, forged by the conquests that began on the Mongolian steppe under a leader named Genghis Khan. Their legacy is a complex tapestry of terror and trade, destruction and connection, a testament to one of the most powerful and transformative empires the world has ever seen. Thank you so much for watching. If you found this journey into history interesting, please hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and ring the bell so you don't miss our next video. Let us know in the comments what historical topic you'd like us to explore next. See you in the next one.